Frolo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frolo app is the one for you. The Frolo app has two modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. All users on Frolo are verified, putting our user safety first always. The Frolo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you're looking for. To download Frolo, search for Frolo, Frolo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frolo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon. Hi there, and welcome to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Zoe Desmond, single parent and founder of Frolo, the Single Parent Community app. Frolo is all about empowering the single parent experience through friendship, community, and support. And this podcast brings you conversations with other single parents about their experiences and the challenges and rewards that go hand in hand with raising a child by yourself. There are so many different aspects to single parenting, and I think it's about time we put a more positive spin on the term single parent, because one thing is for sure, single parents are truly incredible. I hope you enjoy this episode of Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast. Jas, lovely to have you on the Frolo podcast.
Thank you very much.
So Jas, I stumbled across your Instagram page, Barb's the Van and Friends, a while ago, and it really stood out to me because it's a single parent Instagram account with a bit of a twist. So would you be able to share what's unique about your page?
So it all started, I guess, during lockdown when I had a bit more spare time. I was on furlough and I kind of thought what a great idea it would be to buy a really, really old, rusty VW van and convert it into a little home on wheels whereby we could go out and explore as much as possible. And I think what's unique about us is that me and Bertie, so Bertie is 2, he's 3 next month, we did it together. So the Instagram kind of shows our terrible journey of learning how to use a saw and a drill for the first time, like doing it together, and then the adventures that we've gone on, just me and him since.
That is it's unbelievably cool and inspiring. And yeah, when I came across your Instagram page, I just thought, oh my God, not only have you converted a van as a single parent with a young toddler in tow, but it's just gorgeous. And, you know, some of the trips that you've been on, it's just a page of complete inspiration. It's really, really, really cool. So what was it that kind of made the idea pop into your head? Like, have you had experience going on road trips in kind of VWs before, or where did the idea come from?
I have no experience. I barely knew how to drive. I was driving probably the smallest car on the road. I was driving a Peugeot 107, so absolutely no experience. But I think like something that's really important to me as a parent is the whole kind of like being with nature and being close to the environment. So like I try and be as environmentally friendly as possible, and I think that's through growing up like quite close with nature. So it was so important to me that I put that into Bertie and I make him into like the next generation of like sustainable children. And I think having a disconnect with nature, like we obviously money is such an issue for me because I'm 22, I'm a single mum, I have a part-time job and I'm a student. Like money's very tight. So I kind of thought I can't live in the country. I can't really travel with him and show him the world by jumping on planes because it's really hard as a single mum to do any of that thing. So I thought a van would be the best idea because we can park up anywhere, campsites you can get for a fiver a night. And I kind of thought this is the best way to show Bertie the world and to get him connected with the environment and to have a respect for the world that he lives in without spending any money.
That is unbelievably cool. And I love your reason and inspiration behind it, and what you're giving to Bertie and creating for him. And it's so important, isn't it? That connection to nature for us all, but to be able to kind of embed that in our kids. And I just know
Yeah.
living and I just know, living in London, how sometimes the absence of that connection to nature can really kind of impact, how I'm feeling. And then once I get access to it again, it's like just feeling totally rejuvenated, connected again. So
Yeah, it's so good for your mental health to be immersed. I mean, I live 5 minutes from the sea, and every time I'm stressed, just being by it just completely calms you down. And also, kids are so entertained in nature. They can play with pebbles all day, like being cooped up in
yeah,
concrete jungle kind of makes you forget about the beauty of being in the wild.
that's so true. So whereabouts are you based?
We're in Devon, so we're based in Plymouth at the moment. I think we're moving down into Cornwall in September, so we're going even more into the world of beaches, which will be lovely. So yeah, haven't flown very far from the nest
Amazing.
yet.
and and so going back, can you share your kind of journey into becoming a single parent? Because, like you say, you're only 22 now. So, and Bertie is 3.
Yeah, so he's 3 on the 19th of May. So very, very, very nearly out of the terrible twos.
um, so yeah, so would you mind sharing kind of, yeah, how your journey to single parenthood was?
Yeah, so should I do like a quick synopsis? So,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So like when I was 16, I met a 32-year-old man. He was my boss at the time. Within 2 months, I'd kind of moved out with him. I began this like crazy life where I was just so disconnected with everyone I knew. It was pretty unhealthy, as you can imagine, with that kind of age gap. And I didn't really realize how trashy the situation was. And was with him for 3 years. And then I fell pregnant when I was 19. I didn't actually realize I was pregnant until I was 5 months pregnant, which was a massive surprise. I had thyroid issues, so I'd never had a period before. They put me on thyroxine, and which is the drug to kind of fix your body, and boom, got pregnant. And so I was 19, and I had 3 months to transition from being a 19-year-old fresher student into being a mum, and it was very stressful.
Wow.
It was crazy. I remember Bertie was 5 days old, and I was having to do like economics coursework. It was hideous.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So yeah, it was.
I can't imagine only having 3 months to wrap your head around it, because I felt like in one way I wanted to rush through my pregnancy because I was so excited to meet my baby,
Yeah,
and I just wanted it all to happen. And in another way, I kind of realized why sort of we needed, the 9 months to sort of mentally prepare for the change. So
yeah.
yeah, 3 months really isn't a lot of time, and especially when you've got so much going
Yeah,
on.
I didn't believe it really. I completely ignored the issue and then gave birth, and I was like, "Oh wow, like I have a baby now. This is crazy." And I don't think it sunk in until he was about 1 that I actually had this child that was mine. And but I think it was really positive in a way that it obviously, having a baby changes you so much and it makes you grow up so much. And it made me instantly realize that this relationship I was in was really bad, like really, really bad. And so I was like, right, I'm going to break up with him. And I tried to break up with him so much. It took me from deciding to break up with him, it took me 4 months of constantly being like, right, like, I don't want this anymore. And he just kind of stuck around, and it was so unhealthy. And I was so scared of being alone. I'd spent like my entire adult life with him. Not that that was only 2 years. I'd only been an adult for 2 years at this point.
Sure.
But I think I put like such a stigma on being a single mum. Like, I kind of felt like I'd failed, and I was so stupid for having a relationship and a child with such a disgusting man. And I was so ashamed of myself for doing that. And so, yeah, it took me 4 months of saying I was going to do it and telling everyone I knew at the time, which wasn't very many people because he'd kept me in this bubble away from everyone, that it was very dramatic, actually, our breakup. It was like New Year's Eve 2018, and he was like, let's wipe the slate clean. And I was like, no, like this is it. And he stormed out on New Year's Eve, and I started 2019 a single mum. It's very genders.
Well, yeah, very, very symbolic of a new year, a new chapter. And how were you then? Because obviously breakups are, always kind of hard. But then when there's a kid involved, and if it's been a difficult relationship as well, it can be even more challenging. So how were you? How old was Bertie then, and how were you in yourself?
So Bertie would have been about 6 months. 6, 7 months. I think at the time where I broke up with him, I was absolutely terrified, just because it seemed to me like a death sentence that I was going to put myself under. But then it happened, and oh my gosh, like, it got so much easier, because I think being in an unhealthy relationship is so hard on your soul and on everything part of your life, that actually being a single mum is nothing compared to being in a hideous, like, nuclear family. Like, I feel like it was really, really scary, but then just such an amazing release.
I love that. I feel like that needs to be the strap line for this episode, because I think there are so many people, who probably go through that and think, oh God, nothing could be worse than becoming a single parent. But then when it happens and you look back and you think, no, this is so much better than being in a dysfunctional relationship that just eats away at you. It's not healthy for, and it's not healthy for the kids either to be part
Yeah.
of that. So did he stick around in the picture for Bertie?
Yeah, so we co-parented a little bit. It was very, very bad. I think because of the dynamic that we had in our relationship that kind of continued, it was a lot of disappointments, a lot of stress. That was probably the most stressful time of my life. And then he moved over to Europe. And then we went over to visit him a couple of times. I was really loving kind of this new arrangement that we might have, where we'd go over for holidays. I'd leave Bertie with him. He was living in Malta, so I then used to like explore Malta for a bit by myself, go back to see Bertie. It was a really nice arrangement. I loved it. Like, it was crazy. And actually, luckily, I had, for 3 weeks of my adult life, I was free. So he went over to Malta twice. And in those 3 weeks, I crammed in, like, I traveled as much as Europe as I could. I went hosteling. I did the crazy stuff. Within those 3 weeks, I was like, right, I need to go and like live my life. And I did.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I lived this like fun life, and then I was pretty sure that this was just too good to be true. We were getting on really well, and then all of a sudden we were arranging another trip. This was about a year after we broke up, and then he just texted me out of the blue saying, and this is a quote, I wrote this quote down, it was, "Jazz, I can't do this anymore. You can have him. I'll sort out some money for him as soon as I've sorted myself out. You don't have to tell him about me."
Oh my God.
And that was the end of co-parenting.
Wow. And that was that, just like that in a text.
Yeah, and this was over a year ago, and I haven't heard anything since. So it's been the most stress-free, amazing year of my life so far.
Well, that's great that you can, that you can experience it that way and just enjoy the kind of liberation that comes with that, not being tangled up in such a stressful dynamic.
Yeah.
So you obviously have a very independent streak to be able to kind of go off and, as you were saying in Malta, go off for 3 weeks and travel yourself. Like, has that always been something that's kind of inherent within you, or do you have to kind of go out of your comfort zone when you do that stuff?
Yeah, I think obviously, like, I met this man when I was 16, so I had a blip of 3 years where I was kind of in a bubble and didn't get to know myself and didn't really understand who I was because I was with someone else. So I think when I had Bertie and I became a single mum, I kind of have over the last couple of years realized all these traits in me that I love meeting new people. I love traveling. Like, it's completely my comfort zone to do that. It's completely my comfort zone to kind of live a bit on the wilder side, I guess, which is really bad timing because this should have happened before I had a baby.
Well, look at you now. There's no stopping you. I mean, it doesn't sound like having a 2 going on 3-year-old is holding you down, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not the death sentence that so many people told me that it would be.
And so, talking about finding deciding to do this and to buy a van and to renovate it, what was that experience like? So, did you just start kind of looking online, and were you absolutely certain that this is what you were going to do, or were you just kind of browsing, or what were the steps to kind of go about it?
I think it was just, I really, really liked the idea and obviously had no money, which was a real issue because vans are very expensive. And I came across this one van. I went to see it, and it just turned out that I took my family along and it was a family friend. So I managed to sell my car and buy a very, very old van. So the van is a few years younger than me and was just yeah, bought it on a pretty much of a whim. Really, I kind of had the idea in my head I wanted to do it, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I've got a couple of weeks off of furlough and I
Yeah.
very irresponsibly bought a very old, and could have been a disaster, but luckily I think because I am who I like, because I look I looked so silly. I was going around hardware shops and into mechanics, absolutely clueless, with a 2-year-old on my hip. I've met the most amazing people. My mechanic is one of my he's like my best friend now. He looks
Ah.
after me so well. Hardware shops were bringing us in and showing us the places out the back where you could buy like these offcuts. So like my units in my van cost me about £2 because I had all of the offcuts that they would sell me out the back. So I think the experience of like buying a van and doing everything and like just meeting so many new people, it showed me just how kind the world could be to us. So it was really lovely.
That is so cool. And did you know how to, I mean, have you ever done a renovation project before, or how did you even know how to put things together in the van and renovate it and use a drill?
I had absolutely no idea. So I had to go down the road to borrow a drill to start with. Had never used one before. I didn't realize, that you could saw wood. I was going into hardware shops and kind of asking them to do it for me at the start, and they were like, "Look, you do realize it's like really easy." And like I just relied on the goodwill of people, and we spent loads of time. My family have a pub and it was closed at the time because obviously it was furlough and COVID season. So we spent a lot of time with a lot of space. We were parked up next to a double-decker red bus that Bertie would play in all day. He'd be up and down, ringing the bells, opening the doors,
Mm.
whilst I'd be attempting to put together this van. So yeah, absolutely no experience in ever building. I didn't have a single tool when I started.
That is so unbelievably impressive. Honestly, it would intimidate the hell out of me, like buying a van that needed to be completely done up. I wouldn't know where to start, but yours looks amazing. It's like you've had an interior designer on it as well. It's got such a lovely style and it seems so functional.
Yeah, it's really cozy. It's like I feel so at home in it, and Bertie loves it more than anything. I think as long as you don't look too closely, I
Yeah.
think it's great from afar. The joining work, I'm not quite there as a pro carpenter yet, but
Well, I think you could be forgiven. It looks amazing. And so what kind of trips have you guys been on?
so obviously we have been throughout COVID season, we haven't been able to travel hugely far yet. So we've just had, luckily, we live in the most amazing countryside like Devon and Cornwall. Just there's so many places that you can park up for the night. Just going, one of my favorite things to do is just parking up for the entire day in a woods. We'll craft all day, we'll build lanterns out of leaves, and you've just got everything with you. I found day trips used to be very stressful because you'd have to like pack a bag and
Yeah.
bring lunch, and in the morning it was quite a stressful experience to like go out, whereas now I have everything in the van. I've always got a meal, I've always got like breakfast, lunch and dinner, like we keep porridge in there all the time, so you've got everything you could possibly ever need for a toddler. So you can just park up and you've got that freedom to kind of do whatever you want. Or when we go to the beach, when Bertie inevitably jumps in the sea fully clothed, we can go back, get warm, have a hot chocolate, have a change of clothes, and then spend the evening on the beach, which is just so dreamy. Like I can't believe it's our life. I feel very blessed.
That's incredible. And so say for instance, if you're going on a day trip with Bertie, I'd love to hear what that kind of looks like or entails, from getting the van organized, or you say that you do kind of crafts and things like that. But yeah, it would be good to know how you break up, because a day can be long with a toddler. I think anyone who has a toddler will know that a day can be long, and
Yeah.
sometimes there's that, feeling of, oh, okay, I need to make plans, or I need to have stuff to do, or else the day it's going to be really kind of long and challenging. So it would be really great to hear what a day in the life of you and Bertie on a day trip looks like.
Yeah, so I guess the van is always ready to go. I think that's something that I love, is that it's always ready. It's so that we can go on adventures kind of when the weather's good. We'll just set off, we can go down to Cornwall or we go up to North Devon. So he's good for probably about an hour in the car. I try not to so we're planning a big road trip in June. I've kind of planned it so 2 or 3 hours max in the car over the course of the day is really, really good. We'll get to say the beach, or I do just love playing in the woods, and I'd say I usually do kind of like a planned activity. So one of my favorite things to do, so obviously Bertie loves like all the Julia Donaldson books, so if we go say to the woods, we'll bring a load of props with us, and for about an hour we'll reenact Room on the Broom, and he will just
Ah,
he'll be in this magical world of like his imagination is running wild, and we're both really entertained and we're running around. Or if we go to the beach, snail on the whale, you bring all the props along, so you've got that like activity. And then, to be fair, usually if we're in a place like that, where especially the beach or when you're in a woods, we've got a really good woods like 40 minutes away from us, which is all enclosed, it's so safe that I find if you set him up with something, he will then he's so independent and he's such a little adventurer that he can probably entertain himself for about 1 or 2 hours on the beach. He'll start making something, or he'll start digging a hole and putting his Paw Patrols in there, that I can kind of sit there, and it's really nice because we've had our real quality time, and then I'll watch him play. And like during lockdown, I learned how to crochet, so I'll sit there and crochet. So we'll have like a really chilled out day. And then because I've got all my cooking stuff with me, I can then cook we cook very basic stuff. Like, he's a fussy toddler. We'll have some pasta and pesto, but that's really nice to break up the day. We'll cook together. He loves cooking an omelette. That's his favourite thing to do in life. And we'll probably spend an hour he loves getting involved in cooking. And I think just involving him in the most basic human things is the best way to entertain a toddler, isn't it?
Definitely. It sounds idyllic. It all sounds so idyllic.
Yeah. In amongst all of that, there is tantrums. I forget to tell the bad bits. Like, there is tantrums, and he is running away, and he's like a suicidal maniac because he's 2. So there is times where you're just like, please stop trying to like jump in the sea or like climb that tree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good to know that he's a normal toddler in that case. And do you ever get lonely?
I think at the start of being a single mum, I really did. I really, really struggled. Obviously, coming out of such an intense relationship, I really struggled with being on my own, in my own company. But I definitely think now I love my own company. We don't spend all of the time just us two. We've got friends with vans that we meet up. Another great thing about having the van is through Instagram, there's this amazing van community where like people meet up and there is such support. I think like the single mum community, I've also kind of found it's so supportive, and I think I've never felt like such a social person since having an Instagram page. So that's been a real life changer for me, I think, for sure, finding those communities to make me feel social.
And what have you learned about yourself in the process of this whole journey since you got pregnant with Bertie, and now having the van and going on all these gorgeous kind of adventures together?
Oh, what have I learned about myself? Probably that I love exploring. I've never had the chance in life to do my traveling or do any of that stuff that traditionally you do in your early 20s, but actually like learning that I love to meet new people. I love putting myself in situations where, you know, I'm with a 2-year-old in the middle of a beach or we're sleeping on the side of it. Like, those experiences I love. I've realized that I'm actually a really confident person, which is something that I never was like throughout my teen years, like, which is crazy. And I think the biggest thing for me through doing the van was like, I had this like real internal misogyny that has been put into me throughout my entire life, and breaking out of that and doing stuff that people have kind of like put in my head that I shouldn't be doing, that's given me immense confidence, probably like too much, so that it just makes you feel like you can kind of conquer the world when you've done things that women traditionally don't do, especially as a single mum. People have real dire views of single mums, and it's just not true. We're all awesome. Like, we all do so much in such a little amount of time. And yeah, so you feel strong.
I absolutely love that. And what an incredible role model you are for Bertie as well. And what he sees in your strength, in your courage, in your creativity, in your, you know, giving him the gift of connection to nature, adventure. It really is amazing, and it's unbelievably inspiring. And now I just want to go and find a van and and do the same. It's just it's so cool. It's one of these things that, you know, I often see kind of, you know, those gorgeous VW vans and sort of have this little daydream of, oh, that would be so cool. But it almost feels like, you know, something that, you know, just, oh, how would I do it, or all of that. But I think talking to you has definitely been really inspiring, and I love the idea of doing more adventures with my son, and just even just the bond that you know helps, it must help kind of create as well.
Yeah, I think that's another thing, is that I couldn't imagine I think being a single mum is so amazing because you have that bond with your child. And I think I think I have a very distorted view of a nuclear family whereby you kind of have to like give your attention to someone else. It's so alien to me ever having someone else in between me and Bertie. Like, you've got such a strong bond and you're so in
Yeah.
tune with each other when it's just you two.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're doing an absolutely stellar job as Bertie's mom. He's very lucky to get access to so many fun adventures and such an independent, strong mom as well. So Jazz, thanks so much for chatting to me today and for sharing your story and your inspiration. And I cannot wait to keep track of more of your adventures.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go on a crazy road trip in June, so we're gonna try and live out of the van for a month in Ireland with no
Oh,
toilet and
nice.
no shower. So yeah, it's gonna be messy and hideous, but I hope great.
That will be amazing. What part of Ireland are you going to?
So we're doing the whole wild Atlantic way. Hopefully, we've booked 28 days over there. I've just booked the ferries. So hopefully we're gonna head
Amazing.
up. And yeah, we've got a couple of family over there, so hopefully bump into them at some point, but spend a lot of time. It's really good wild camping over there. So yeah.
Well, I will absolutely be keeping tabs on that, given that it's my home country.
Yeah.
And it would be really great if you're up for it to do maybe an Instagram stories takeover while you're on it for Frolo.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I will come like unshowered and
Yeah, give us the real version, the real window into what it's like camping on the road. But no, it would be so good, and it's such a beautiful part of the world as well, the west coast of Ireland. So,
yeah, it looks incredible.
mm,
Yeah.
oh well, Jas, thanks, so lovely to chat to you, and thank you so much. And where can people find you if they're looking for you on Instagram?
Okay, yeah. So I've only got my van page on Instagram actually, and it's Barb's the Van and Friends, and that's where we put everything. Everything we do is to do with the van anyway. So.
Fab. Okay, well, lovely to chat to you and looking forward to keeping track of your future adventures.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
And thank you everyone for listening. Until next time. If you would like to connect with other single parents in your area, as well as a wider community of single parents, and access support and advice easily, download the Frolo app and join us. Otherwise, head to our website, www.frolo.com, and sign up to our newsletter to stay connected to us. All the links are in the show notes. To help us reach more single parents, it really helps us when you subscribe to this podcast and leave us a rating and review. So we would be really grateful if you could take a minute to do so. You've been listening to Frolo, the Single Parent Podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, have a great week.